What's up? Welcome to Trackletics Live. At Trackletics, we believe track is life. Each episode will bring you dope conversations with trackletes, coaches, dietitians, sports performance specialists, and more. Speaking about everything track and field, racing, training, recovery, nutrition, and mindset. I'm your host, Samar, founder of Trackletics. I've been running track for over 20 years now. I've been a personal trainer at top gyms like Equinox, 24 Hour Fitness, and LA Fitness. Our mission with Trackletics is to push the bar of human performance and the sport of track and field further. Everything we do and everything we have become is deeply rooted in our passion to help triathletes reach their full potential. You're listening to Trackletics Live. On this episode of Trackletics Live, I'll be speaking to a registered dietitian. Her name is Abby. You can follow her on Instagram at Energy Sports Dietitian. Please like this video and subscribe to our podcast for more. Abby, happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, Samar. Glad to be here.
How's your day going?
It's going pretty well.
What time is it there again?
So it's 4 p.m. I'm in Central Time Zone.
Central Time Zone. Me and Abby are in different states. I'm in California. Where are you?
Illinois.
Illinois. So shout out to all of our trackletes in Illinois. That's crazy. It's to think that we can really just connect across the world, across the states, just on Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would have never been able to guess that we can take this brand, globally and connect with so many different runners across the world. Before you got on today, I was actually just telling everybody a little bit about you, how you've been able to help numerous runners with their nutrition and not just giving them plans like, hey, eat this, but it's more important for them to understand what they need to be eating, when they need to be eating, and how it helps them,
Yes, definitely.
So today, for everybody tuning in, we still got people joining in now. We are focusing on nutrition. Today's Trackletics Live is focused on fueling for trackletes.
Mm-hmm.
Together, we have teamed up. We created a pretty dope infographic for you guys to download. You can tap the link in my bio, Trackletics, to download that. We'll make sure you guys get that infographic. But while you're here, we want to ask all of your nutrition questions, so feel free to drop those in the comments as we kick this thing off. So, Abby, first question. What is macros? Like, what are these macro things that, all these professional athletes and bodybuilders and everybody's focused on? What is macros?
All right, so macros is short for macronutrient. So macronutrients are nutrients that provide calories. They provide energy to the body when you eat them. So the macronutrients are carbohydrates, protein, and fat. And each of those nutrients will provide energy if you eat them.
Nice. Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And they provide energy if you eat them.
Yes.
So this means that we need to be eating quality sources so that we have quality energy for our training, for our track meets, and so forth, right?
Yep.
What do you think track athletes focus on most? Like, what is our usually go-to? What do we know about?
I think a lot of athletes, and especially track athletes in the realm, it depends on your event. So if you're a sprinter or a thrower or a jumper, you probably think a lot about protein because those athletes are trying to build muscle, versus a long distance runner. A distance runner is probably thinking about carbs because most of them, you hear a carbo load for running, carbo load for my races. So depending on what event you do, you might think more about different macros.
This is true. Okay. I definitely have some distance friends. I've run cross country myself. And they're obsessed with carbs, the pre-workout carbs. Some of them take honey before so they can get a quick sugar carb shot. So I know that you said it's different for every event. Let's start with distance runners specifically. Is there a different need between the carbs and the protein?
So I look at it as a broad category of strength versus endurance athletes. So every athlete needs all of the macros. So it is important to get carbs, protein, and fat no matter what kind of athlete you are. If you're a sprinter or a thrower or a jumper, they might need more protein because they may be focusing more on building muscle. However, you still need those carbs because carbs are our number one energy source for high intensity exercise. So when you're running 200 meters, you're not using fat as energy. Right. You're using carbs 100% because you should be going all out 100% using all that intensity. Versus if you're a distance runner, you may not need as much protein because maybe you're not focused on building straight up muscle, but you do need protein to repair the muscle damage that's done from running long miles. But the carbs are going to provide you more energy because you're running more miles.
Nice. Okay. Wow. You cleared that up for me. So carbs, energy, protein, good to help rebuild muscle. What are fats for? What are we eating fats for?
So fat is another source of energy like carbs, but fat is used more when you're exercising for a long period of time at a very low intensity. So we need fat for energy, and fat also does other stuff for us. Like certain vitamins are not absorbed unless we have fat with them. And another reason why fat is important is because it helps reduce inflammation in your body as well as it helps cushion your organs. So we need fat as trackletes. So the goal should not be to have as low of body fat as possible. You need that fat in order to be able to be as strong of a tracklete as you can be.
Nah, makes sense. Makes sense. So it's kind of interesting that we've gotten to a point of like body shaming within the sport performance world. Because it's, you know, everybody's body type is different. Everybody's nutrient needs are different, which leads to a different body type potentially. But everybody's, you know, concerned with being so thin and so light, and convinced that like that's what fuels your performance, you know, not your training and not your nutrition, but literally being light or literally being skinny. And, you know, athletes don't want to get overweight or don't want to gain weight. So I feel like this nutrition conversation is very valuable to a lot of people.
Yes, definitely.
You talked about protein. You went over carbs, mentioned a little bit of fats. What's the last one that I'm forgetting? Protein, carbs.
So fat, those are the macros. And then, of course, you have water. I mean, I guess that's not a macro.
Not macro.
Alcohol does provide calories, but I would not consider it a macronutrient because alcohol in general is very dehydrating and inflammatory. So if you're a serious athlete, getting a lot of alcohol is something that's probably not going to be very helpful for your performance.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I feel like a huge category or group of athletes, I should say, within the track world are college, right? And within college, you have the parties and you're of age now, or you're getting to being of age, and you have the ability to, you know, go out and drink and have a good time. But as a college athlete, do you feel that alcohol can actually like hinder your performance? Should we be staying away from it?
Yeah, so there's a difference between, you know, going out with your friends and getting a couple drinks every so often versus if you're going out and partying and getting hammered every weekend, that's not going to be helpful for your performance because alcohol, it's a dehydrator. So there's a reason why when people get a hangover, you reach for the Gatorade, you reach for something that's got electrolytes because it dehydrates you. Alcohol also provides a lot of calories, but those calories don't tend to give the other nutrients in them that the carbs, protein, and fat do. So you're taking something that's not going to be helpful for your performance. And of course, not to mention, like, it affects your judgment. It can affect a lot of things. So constantly taking in large amounts of alcohol is not very good for your performance as a tracklete.
Wow. I'm glad we clarified that up. I mean, I know it's cool to have fun, you know, go out, party, and, you know, experience new things. But if you're very serious about your sport career, your track and field career, then probably should stay away from that, you know, something that's hindering your career. I don't see how you can drink and it actually help you get any better. So definitely should be staying away from that. But we've created this very cool infographic, right? let's talk a little bit about that. Let me
Yeah.
pull that up. Did you guys get a chance to download the infographic? If you didn't, you can take a second, click off the live, tap the link in my bio, download the infographic, but come back. You don't want to miss this information. But please make sure you get that infographic. Let me pull that up 1 second. Wow, you're very clear with the carbs and protein, especially being an immediate source of fuel. And now I'm thinking back to like how everybody wants to cut out carbs. That's like the
Yes.
first source of, you know, thing that they want to cut out. I've heard people cutting out bread and cutting out just all oats and everything. But it seems like, you know, a piece of toast and jelly would be easy, quick carb, easy to digest, get down before you run, right?
Definitely. So carbohydrates, they get a bad rap nowadays, but they are so important for your performance as an athlete, especially if you are a sprinter or a thrower or a jumper, somebody who's using high intensity activity where carbs are your fast source of energy. And then, of course, you have your distance runners who are using all of that energy to run. So carbohydrates are very important. And I listened to Oprah. Oprah said you like bread. So, I mean, I'm going to listen to Oprah. If Oprah likes bread, I'm going to eat that bread. And so bread, pasta, rice, cereal, potatoes, all of those things are going to be very helpful to help you get the energy that you need.
Nice, nice. So I hope you guys are taking notes. You said bread, pasta. Those things are okay. That's actually my favorite food to eat before a track meet or after a hard day of practice. I love pasta. That's my go-to. My go-to. But protein. You've mentioned carbs is our immediate source of energy. You went into detail about that. What is protein?
So protein it's a macronutrient like I talked about. And so protein's main job in our body is that it helps with structure. It helps to build our cells, the tissues, our muscles. It helps make up the enzymes that we use for metabolism. It does a lot of things.
Nice.
But protein, you should think of it not as energy, but it is a structure nutrient. A lot of people think, oh, I need energy, I need to eat a lot of protein. But protein, it's not mainly for energy. It's mainly for the structure and building stuff up.
Right. Like, you know, after a workout, I know a lot of lifters that go to the protein shake and they're kind of under the impression that it's like, oh, it'll bring me back after my workout, give me some energy and, you know, refuel me. But it's not exactly doing that. It's, you know, kind of helping you rebuild your foundation or your muscle tissue, but it's not exactly energy, right?
Yeah, so protein itself does provide energy, but as a
Okay.
macronutrient, its main job is to help rebuild. So if you make a protein shake, make sure you have some carbs in there as well. So like blend it up with some fruit, add some milk, or eat it with some fruit or a granola bar, something like that.
Ooh, cheat code. Okay. Cheat code. Hope y'all taking notes. Did y'all hear that? She said if you're having a protein shake, right, trying to get your protein in, make sure you're building lean muscle, add some carbs with it. Maybe have a granola bar with it or throw some carbs into the protein shake. I've actually had a granola bar blended in a protein shake before, or like some peanut butter, stuff like that. You can add extra stuff into your protein shake to get your carbs back so that your energy is, you know, back up and you're not feeling like it's dull and dim outside,
Yes.
right?
Protein powder and water is not enough after your workout. You need those carbs.
Nice. Okay. Actually, after my workouts, I do protein powder. I do a plant-based protein, pea protein. I do a mixed like bag of fruits, so peaches, pineapples, strawberries. Sometimes I might pour like a low calorie juice or something like that. Just to give me a little bit, you know, more calories within that.
Yeah.
But that's typically my post-workout recovery shake too. So
yeah,
I'm
sounds
glad
like
I'm right. I'm on the right track.
Yeah, so you're on the right track, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I like that. All pun intended. Right. So now that we're talking about protein, what sources of protein should we be consuming? Like what foods have protein? Let's start there.
So protein can come from either animal sources or plant sources. So animal proteins contain what are called all the essential amino acids. So these are amino acids our body can't make on our own. So you have to eat them through food. So think of like meat, fish, poultry, eggs, milk. Those are going to be our animal proteins. So then our plant proteins, they don't have all the essential amino acids, but if you combine them, you can get those essential amino acids. So think like chickpeas, beans, tofu, edamame, nuts, peanut butter. All of those things are like plant proteins.
Nice, nice. I've even seen like rice protein now. But you know, even we got tofu and tempeh and you know nuts. So well, there is a difference between the animal and the plant proteins. Aside from them missing some of the extra amino acids, are we really like lacking? Do we all need to be eating animal protein, or is plant protein, you know, good enough for us?
So you can be vegan or vegetarian and get enough protein. It'll just be a little harder because you have to make sure you're combining the different plant proteins to get the amino acids, and our body doesn't absorb the protein in it as well. So you need to make sure you're eating more of it. So it's easier to get protein from animal foods, but you can be a plant-based athlete and get enough protein. I would suggest working with a dietitian to make sure you're getting that amount of protein that you need.
Nice, nice. Okay. How much protein do you think I need as a triathlete? You know, how do I know exactly how much I should be consuming?
So there's a lot of different ideas out there, but in general, this is coming from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, as well as the American College of Science. So the
Right.
amount of protein for an athlete in general is 1.2 to 1.7 grams per kilogram. So
Nice.
some strength athletes will eat more, like over 2 grams per kilogram. Some strength athletes will do more. But in general, you will meet your protein needs as an athlete doing that between that 1.2 to 1.7. So depending on the kind of tracklete you are, you need more. So if you're a strength one, so if you're a sprinter, thrower, jumper, you might need more protein versus if you're a distance runner.
And it's 1.1 to 1.7. This is by your body weight, right?
Yeah, so your kilograms of body weight, that 1.2 to 1.7. Most of my athletes, I do about 1.4 to 1.6 in general. And then we can go up from there. If they're trying to build more like muscle, we will do more protein. If you're trying to build muscle, if you're doing a lot of heavy workouts and you need more recovery, then we might add more protein for recovery. So it just depends on like you individually.
Wow, Abby, you are really you giving them all the gems today. Make sure you guys are sharing this live with somebody so you can help a fellow teammate out, help a fellow track lead out. But why do you think that we need 1.2 to 1.7? Like, what's with that number, or what's with a specific amount of protein?
So this is like the number that they've come up with through evidence-based research and nutrition. So a lot of people will tell you to eat as much protein as humanly possible to try and build muscle. However, though athletes do have higher protein needs, if you eat a ton of protein without eating that, then you might be too full on protein to get the carbs and the fat you need to get the energy that you need. And if you don't have enough energy in general, it doesn't matter that you're eating all that protein. You're not going to build that muscle. You need to have energy as well.
Right. Wow. Okay. Wow. So that really shows how important it is to have your protein, your carbs, your fat. You need a balanced diet, as they say.
Yes,
right.
Definitely.
We can't be super high on protein. I actually know somebody that takes 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, that's like a lot of protein.
That is very, very high. So
yeah,
I probably would not recommend that much protein for somebody. You probably don't need as much protein as you think you do. You need protein. You need more protein as a tracklete, but you don't need to eat obscene amounts of protein at the expense of getting your carbs and your fat in.
Right. And I don't think people consider that. You know, we are obsessed with protein, eat your meats, but we're not really obsessed with having a balanced diet and making sure we're getting the other macros that we need, right? Because you don't need just one. Like, you're not all protein. You know, they say there's a certain percent of the body that's made of water, right? Protein would literally be the muscle that we have, right?
So every tissue in your body, so it's your muscles, your organs, your everything is protein. The most important thing with protein is just Get enough so that you can build your muscle and recover, but don't eat so much that you're neglecting your carbs and your fat as well.
So we have our energy and you can move that muscle around, right?
Yes,
If you got
definitely.
all protein and no energy, you can't move the muscle. We ain't doing nothing. Now, is it better to eat my protein or drink my protein? Because I take protein shakes. So like, you know, but I still eat. Is there a difference? Is one better? How do you feel?
So in general, as a dietitian, I recommend food first. So do we need to start drinking a bunch of protein powder if you're eating a good amount of, like, you know, meat, chicken, eggs, yogurt, chickpeas, all those protein sources at meals and snacks? But protein powder can be a really convenient way to get more protein if you have high needs as an athlete. So if it's easier for you to make a shake or smoothie after a workout with protein powder, then that could be a way that you can use it responsibly. But do you need to have like 3 protein shakes a day or replace your meals with a protein shake? No.
I like how you said that. Use it responsibly.
Yes.
Responsibly. I think a lot of people do, you know, buy a bag of protein or a tub of protein, and it's just like, I'm going to get 3 in today. Make sure I hit all my protein goals. But that's not really, you know, the point of it. You need a certain amount of protein. You still need your carbs. You need to be fueled. So I like how you put that, responsibly. Yeah. And you said food first, of course. Food is the natural source. But a lot of times for me, like after practice, I don't have the appetite, but I know I need some food. I know I need the fuel in me. Like I'll literally feel empty, but I just don't. Food is not attractive. It don't matter what it smells like or anything. So.
And that's actually really common. After exercise, it's very common to have your hunger like blunted for a while after exercise. So if getting liquids in is easier for you, then again, doing the protein shake could be a way you can get your post-workout protein and carbs in without having to deal so much with actual food.
Nice. But it's still important to have whole food, real food.
Yes, most of the time. Yes.
Right. So if you do have a problem, being able to eat after your workout, if you don't have an appetite, there's times where I've thrown up and I'm like, I literally need something back in my body, but I'm not going to be able to just be chewing on some food. So in those times, that protein shake with some carbs, some extra fruits, I put, you know, spinach, and so I'm getting some greens in there too. There's some extras that you can add to your protein shake that'll really help you out, as opposed to the protein and water and just shaking it up. So I'm glad we cleared that up. Now that we're talking about protein powder, how should I choose my protein powder? Are they like there's whey, there's casein, there's pea, there's rice. How do you choose protein?
So in general, if you're choosing, I'll talk about like whey, like animal-based first. So most protein powders contain whey, casein, or like some combination of the two. So whey protein isolate is the quickest absorbing protein that'll get in your system. So whey is good if you need a quick hit recovery protein after a workout. Casein is digested and absorbed much more slowly. So it's more ideal to take before bed. So if you're like trying to recover and you want to be recovering with protein throughout the night, that's when casein is more appropriate. Okay. So that's the types of protein for animal. And then plant protein, you want to pick a powder that has a combination of different types. So pea protein, brown rice protein, just different kinds. And then besides the type of protein, what kind of amino acids are in it? So there's an amino acid called leucine that is really good for helping build muscle. So look for a protein powder that has at least 2 to 3 grams of that leucine in it, which whey protein powders usually are a pretty good source of leucine, and that can help you get the amino acids you need for recovery. Nice. And then lastly, look for a protein powder that has minimal ingredients in it, so you know you're getting like some good quality protein.
Right. So that's actually the first thing I typically look for. I don't want to flip to the back and it's a whole paragraph of just proprietary blendness and just so much extra stuff in there, and then you see protein at the bottom, right?
So speaking of that proprietary blend, so those are the things you should look for in general for a protein powder. But the number one thing I tell people to look for, especially if you are a college athlete or a pro athlete or someone competing where there's a governing body overseeing you for drugs or banned substances, your protein powder should be third-party tested. Because at least in the United States, dietary supplements like protein powder are not regulated in the same way as food. So a protein powder that's been third-party tested means they've tested it for purity. So you know exactly what ingredients you're getting So they're not sneaking any of those banned substances or anything harmful in there for you. So if you're like competing in college, NCAA, NAIA, JUCO, or if you're pro, make sure it's third party tested so that you don't get any surprises if you get drug tested.
Yeah, and we actually had that problem this past Olympics. A couple people were drug tested, and turns out that they had, some banned substances, in their test. One of those specifically, she said it was something that she ate, but she wasn't aware of what exactly it was, so could have been a protein, could have been a burger, could have been whatever it was. But what came back was you tested positive, and now you can no longer run. So yes, that is great that you mentioned that. Be aware of the protein that you are consuming. Make sure that it is third party tested. Do you know what the third party company is?
So at least in the United States, the top two are NSF for Sport, which is like a blue and orange rectangle that's usually displayed on the product. And then Informed Choice or Informed Sport is another one that's commonly seen in the US. So most colleges, I think you'll see a lot of NSF for Sport. So not just protein, any supplement you take should be third party tested if you are an athlete, because you don't want to get any surprises.
Yes, let's clarify that. Any supplement you take should be third party tested. Any supplement you take should be third party tested. You do not want to get banned just because you brought a protein shake and you didn't know what was in it.
Yes.
You don't want to get like these, I want to say it was at least 3 people that I'm aware of made it to the Olympics. Like, you've already trained, you've already put your body through this intense period, you've qualified, you get there, and then they tell you, whoa, you tested positive for something a couple months ago. You have to go home, or you can't really compete with us, So please make sure it is, tested so that you're not coming back positive on any of your drug tests. One thing I do want to ask you, you mentioned leucine. Mm-hmm. Are there any other amino acids that we should be looking out for? One of my coaches specifically put me on like L-glutamine and, some other, I was actually taking BCAAs by themselves, which are the branched chain amino acids.
So first I will speak on L-glutamine. So glutamine is an amino acid that's been kind of popular recently because it might help with repairing, like, I know at least like the gut lining or some other things. I personally am not as well versed in the research on that one, so I can't speak on it for sure right now. But for the BCAAs, which is leucine, isoleucine, and valine. So leucine is a BCAA. Mm-hmm. In general, I think if you are eating enough quality food sources of protein, you don't really need to be taking a BCAA supplement on top of that, because you're probably getting a lot of BCAAs through your food if you're eating a lot of high quality protein sources.
Right. And I mean, that is the point. Eat high quality protein source so you can get those. So that makes perfect sense. And you said it was 2.5 grams?
So 3 grams is what we should aim for, and most animal sources are going to be higher in leucine, but some plant sources you look for more like 2.5, which is why, again, plant proteins, you generally need to eat a lot more of them to get all of the benefits.
Wow. You've definitely taught me a lot just in this live. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate your help. Wow. Now I know how important proteins are. Not just protein, but, all of the macros. Mm-hmm. Having at least 1.1 to 1.7 grams per pound of body weight.
Per kilogram.
Kilograms. So do you know what the conversion to pounds would be?
So you would divide pounds by 2.2.
There we go. So for anybody specifically that wants to use this equation or use this knowledge for themselves, welcoming everybody in. We got a lot of hearts going up. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
We do have an infographic. So if you guys have not downloaded the infographic, please tap the link in my bio. You can wait till after the live, but tap the link in my bio, download the infographic. All of the stuff that we went over on protein today will actually be in that infographic. So if you wanted a handout, a takeaway, something you can print out, something you can save, something you can look back at and really just dive in and lock in, and I'll say take your nutrition plan to the next level, because that's what's going to take your training to the next level. If you're ready to take your training to the next level, download this infographic. You need this. Protein for Trackletes. I think you said it all.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Samar.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you. Are there any other, topics that you want to touch on real quick? Oh, I see we do have a question. Let's see. Oh, no, he said I speak French.
Oh, sorry, I can't speak French.
Yeah, I can't speak French. Actually, I did have one question that I wanted to ask you. Let me pull my questions up. I made a couple posts asking people what their biggest nutrition struggles were. We did have some really good questions, but one that I feel like everybody needs to hear. Let me go to it. Boom. All right. For the everyday tracklete, what do you think the minimum calories should be? Now, I know this is hard because, everybody's body type is different. But obviously, protein is a macro. Macros have calories, right? Yeah. And that's the whole reason that we're eating all of this. Do we have any idea of how many calories athletes should be eating?
So in general, if you are training harder, like intense training for at least like 6 to 10 hours a week, if you're a woman or female, the baseline is probably about 2,500 calories. And then if you are a male, at least 3,000 to start with. So this is baseline. Again, every single person has different calorie needs, and I can't tell you how much you need to eat without doing a thorough nutrition assessment.
Right.
And then if you're training more than like 10 hours a week, then you probably need even more than that. So it's not uncommon for female trackletes to be eating 3,000, 3,500 plus calories. Male trackletes eating 3,500, 4,000, 4,500 plus. So those calories are important. You, as an athlete, the most important thing you can do for yourself is to properly fuel and meet your energy needs.
I don't think it's any better way to end it off on that. The most important thing to do as a track and field athlete is to fuel to meet your needs.
Yes, definitely.
The most important thing, because how can we run? How can I get any better if I'm not fueled? I'd literally be passing out on the track. And that's happened to me before. I literally went to practice, didn't have breakfast. We did 8 200s. And
that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. I woke up. I remember doing the 8th 200. And then I woke up in the trainer's room. I had the finger scanner on me. I'm looking at my heart rate. They got me drinking Pedialyte now, and I could not leave. They literally held me there because I did not eat.
Yeah.
We lifted weights and we ran 8 200s, and I did not fuel myself. Recipe for disaster. Recipe. So thank you again, Abby. I really appreciate your help. Really appreciate you tuning in with us, answering these questions. Man, I know this is some value that, our trackletes will definitely be able to take away and sit with and upgrade their nutrition plan.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Please like this video and subscribe to our podcast for more.